Welcome to HortTube. Super excited to be in Athens, Georgia with Dr. Alan Armitage. If you have not seen any of Dr. Armitage's videos on the channel, maybe you're newer to the channel, I'm going to put them in a playlist after this video. So they're all together and you guys can go back. Maybe you're newer to the channel because his videos are amongst the more popular videos I have on the channel because he's just fun. He's always fun to be around. And if I could get anywhere near Athens, Georgia, I'm always bugging him. Hey, can I come over? Can I come over? I'm like a, a paparazzi basically. and so is Steph, because Steph, had this as as her textbook when she was in horticulture school. This is your fourth edition of the herbaceous perennial plant book, right. Which gets bigger, right?
Well, I tell people, you don't like the book, use it for weight training. It works just as well.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. Well, Jim, it's always good to have you. Steph on the camera, it's great to have you too. And you're in lovely Athens, Georgia, which is really a fabulous place. But it's hot in the summer and all that stuff. But I just come back from Italy, so if I fall apart in the middle of this thing, that's okay. I got back last night, and it was really fun. But it's always fun to come home. Yeah. And I was, it hasn't rained forever here.
It's really dry here in Athens.
So didn't know what I'd see when I came back, and I heard you were coming over, so I cut the grass for you. And at least I did that anyway. I got some bird feedback, so the birds are visiting us as well. But anyway, this is my garden, as you know, Jim, and I just have a ball here. Yeah. And I've said this a dozen times, and I say it to you and to anybody who listens, because this whole thing about gardening, you can make fun of it, you can talk about a little man in a hat and all that stuff, but gardening gives us something that so few other people have. And gardeners realize this without even thinking about it, but when you talk to somebody who doesn't know anything about plants and they don't know gardening, it doesn't take long for me to tell them, yes, but we always have something to look forward to.
Yes.
Always. In fact, I'm planting some bulbs in another few days to look forward to the spring. I'm looking forward to the fall color. I'm looking forward, it's just unbelievable how fortunate we are. And when I say that, I'm not preaching or anything, it's just that's who we are.
Right. Yes,
so we have fun doing it. I mean, I see no problem here whatsoever.
Yes, and it's always a great bunch of people. It's always a bunch of, you get a bunch of gardeners together. It's always a good people.
Yeah. And the fact is, we have to give a full body search when people leave the garden, don't we? Right. Because you never know quite.
Yeah, there's some cuttings coming home. Quite
what cuttings are going to be going. But anyway, having said that, there's some cool plants here, Jim. You might want to.
Yeah, let's talk through some
things. Come on, let's go over to the corner here. This is my little garden. This is a little garden, and when you scan it later, you'll see it's a in-town garden, like yours.
It is very, very similar. So what you're looking at is we're 7B, 8A. Yeah. Athens is definitely probably 8A.
Yeah, 7B, 8A. Well, I don't know.
Similar Piedmont soils.
Exactly.
Very, very similar, and a very similar house and size lot. I mean, it's all very similar. And
anyway, it's just and it's fun because we sit on the deck, and this is what we look at, and we're quite happy to do so. We're pretty boring. We watch the grass grow, we watch the flowers open, whatever, and drink a lot of wine and have good friends over. But anyway, this is the sunniest part of the garden, and of course it's getting 5-ish. But so there's sunny things in here, and there's shady things over there. But no garden ever has. Well, I shouldn't say that. Few gardens, and I'm saying gardens, not pieces of the garden, have full sun or full shade. They're all mixed. So you got to figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it. It's real simple, but we have fun doing it. Anyway, the native phlox. People are crazy about native plants, and I am too, but not to the point where I, ignore non-native plants. But I love the summer phlox. This is phlox, what we call Phlox paniculata. This particular cultivar has been, well, it's what? I'm 6 feet tall, so it's 5 feet tall, and it's been flowering since June, and we're now October. And it's flowering actually through my hydrangea, white wedding, which is a terrific plant. And I have white wedding in the garden, so the white wedding is actually in here. The phlox, and I like doing that. I don't ever believe, you should believe any book but mine, of course, but I don't believe you plant these things 2 feet apart because they're going to grow. Well, I'm not going to be around long enough for them to grow, so I plant them on top of each other. And I have no problem. So again, a great gardenia with a hydrangea, with a salvia group, with Nephofia, all of these baptisias, all of these are planted together all around a native azalea. So there's always something to look forward to in this garden. In this
almost all of those things bloom at a slightly different time.
They bloom at slightly different times. I've got some, and again, I don't want to bore you with all these plants, but I love vines. So I got clerodendron vines, I got rose vines,
Yeah.
I've got clematis vines. I'll show you a really cool vine over here just for fun. And I'm also in love, I guess I'm in love with everything, Jim. This is a new group of dwarf crepe myrtles. Now we know crepe myrtles can be 30 feet tall. You know, we know crepe myrtle and all that stuff. Well, these don't get genetically any taller than about this. Now come fall, early winter, even spring, I'll cut these to the ground, and this is what they'll do in 1 year. And I like this because my garden is too small to have all these huge darn plants. Take a deep breath, Jim. Come on, I got some cool stuff
You
here.
gotta tell me about these
Your
tomatoes are
I
wearing
am
clothes.
dwarfed by my tomato.
Yeah.
Remember, I don't have enough room for a vegetable garden. So I do what's called foodscaping. And so I put food in the garden, in the landscape. And I don't put a lot. I have 2 tomatoes. One's over here, it's done.
Pepper's still looking great.
And this sucker,
Yeah.
this thing just keeps growing. Now, again, okay, it's in a pot. I'm 6 feet.
Yeah.
And it's still growing, and it's still flowering up there. But Steph will show you this. I don't have I am having a war, a battle, a siege with squirrels. Okay, my squirrels will eat all the food, so I have squirrel-proof bird feeders. I got all that cool stuff. But those suckers will come in here when my tomatoes are almost ripe, and they'll just take a bite.
Just take one bite.
One bite.
Yes.
I guess you could cut it off and all, but it's kind of frustrating. So I am really I'm getting the hang of this, man. Look, I got these crazy things called organza bags. And, you know, so far they're hanging in there. The last, I cleaned out what was ripe already. So these are all up here, and they're flowering. This is, by the way, this is a new, well, I say it's a new tomato, and it's called Bright Star. And it's from Burpee.
Yeah.
And Burpee's a great company. I didn't expect it to get it's in a container. No, I mean, anyway, so that's cool. I'm in love with Japanese maples, of course. I have 15 in the garden.
Yeah, you do.
So they're all good. You cannot.
We're going to get less fall color on them, like we were
We are
saying.
going to get less fall color, and we'll go to see if you'll see that the dryness more than the heat has taken a lot of the leaves down, so there just aren't any leaves. But that'll be great. There'll be some, and there's some plants that are just better than others. And again, come on over. Jim, you come over. Stephanie, come on over for our Meyer lemon cocktail. And these are Meyer lemons, and you can see that they're doing just fine, thank you. There's a ton over here and here, and they turn, of course, November, hopefully we'll get them. And
when do you normally get your first frost? Late October,
mid-November? Late October, November, you know, or January.
Last year it was December 23rd at freeze.
Yeah, we had good frost last year, and the more frost, the better. Maybe people don't know frost is good. Cold is good, particularly for perennial plants. Not for Meyer lemon. I take these inside, and this other cool plant, which is a little plum from Natal plum. But it's just got handsome foliage, that's all. So that's my containers, and my wife Susan only lets me put so many out here, so I have to pick and choose.
We're going to do a couple more things that look great, and then we're going to move to gardeners have, no matter who the gardener is, the famous Dr. Alan Armitage or whoever, we still have problems.
Oh my goodness, it's
the
gardening. It's gardening. I mean, there's some fabulous, it's so much fun to show you all the great stuff, but it's like taking it's like that one picture you see. I want that in the garden. Well, it's one of 100 pictures that somebody took. The other 99 didn't look quite so good.
I always got that in the fall. I have set up this fall display at the garden center, and people come in and take photos of with their kids, and they take 500 photos of a screaming kid, a crying kid, to get the one fake photo. Honestly, because the real ones were the kids screaming. So talk about
a couple of really cool plants. And I may be wrong, Jim, when I say this, but people like my wife and I, and maybe you or whatever, when we want just some flowers, if we're not cutting them from the garden, which we can, Alstroemeria is a very, very popular cut flower because it lasts so long. Well, I got Alstroemeria now in the garden. Now, I want to get more before I start cutting it, but this has been flowering since spring. And these are hardy Alstroemerias. Now, hardy for us doesn't mean hardy to zone 3, but these are hardy Alstroemerias.
And we have the same one in the garden.
I'm really looking, I just love this. There's another one over here someplace that's struggling. But that's been great. But if you sort of look at this, and look at this backdrop, of this spectacular vine. As I told you before, I love vines. There's clematis here growing up through my maple. That's a wonderful clematis, flowers in late spring. And this is the Rex begonia vine. Now the difference between clematis and Rex begonia vine, other than the fact that they look different, that's perennial. This is annual.
Yeah.
So it's been doing this in the last, what, 4 months?
Right, yeah.
4 months. And people say, I don't want an annual. Well, good grief, you know, if you can find it.
Right.
Rex begonia vine, I mean, give me a break.
And if you did get it, you could probably root this and
my
carry it through the
goodness
winter
gracious,
in the house.
come on over. When you come over for your lemon, you can definitely get some cuttings of this.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just put a little trellisy thing up here. You can see it's really ugly, but you don't see the ugliness when all you see is the vine.
Right.
So those are some cool plants, and I really love the cool stuff.
So here's one of the Japanese maples. It's not going to get any fall color.
So this is a great Japanese maple. This is coral bark maple.
Yeah.
So it's going to have bark color in the winter. That's the coral bark in the winter. But I like to get fall color in the foliage, but you can see that, well, if the leaves disappear, so does the fall color.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be all right, but it's not going to be as spectacular as we had hoped, and that's mostly dryness and heat, of course, but you know, if I lived in Maine, it would be different, but
sun's
if I lived in
literally
Maine, I probably
scorching
couldn't
dry
grow it.
leaves. It's burning them.
And this is, hey, we're gardeners, and unfortunately, as much as I wish this didn't happen, there's not a whole lot I can do about it. I mean, I water, but I'm not going to water the sucker here.
Yeah, right.
Do the best you can.
Yeah.
You know,
well, your garden is resilient. I mean, you've been gone for 11 days. It's drier than it's been ever. And anything out here that may look a little off is not actually doing anything other than going to sleep a little earlier than it would have. It's going to come back in the spring like it didn't happen.
I have no issues.
Yeah.
I mean, as bad as this Deutzia looks right now, it's going to be spectacular in the spring.
Yeah.
And these maples, you know, they're beat up a little bit, but we're gardeners and we're used to that.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff. I have no issues at all with
all the Carex always look, no matter what, seem to like plow through.
Those Carex, I mean, I don't even know what to do with this thing, but it's, again, we just sit up here and this is where we look.
Yeah.
A little fountain, a little Carex, it just goes on forever. Well, while Steph is filming one of my favorite plants, it gives me an opportunity to talk about that other group of plants that some people feel are beneath them, annuals. Now, I love annuals. I have a ton of annuals in my garden. They're great fillers. They do things that perennials or shrubs or trees just can't do, like provide color like this all season. This is a canary wings begonia. It's like dragon wing. You've probably heard of those. This is canary wing. And we sit on a deck over here. This is full shade. So this brightens up this shady area. And all these other things down here, well, they do their thing. From caladiums to begonias to impatiens to hostas to goodness knows what else in here. But those are keen.
Despite the dryness out here, a lot of your ferns look fresh and new. I think you do have a lot of resiliency built into this garden. The amount of compost and mulch and things you've done over the years.
Yeah, and you know, we can do all this common sense gardening, which is what it really is. But ferns, as you mentioned, Jim, they're resilient. And we keep thinking ferns are just heavy shade plants. There's not a fern I know that won't take morning sun. Just keep that afternoon sun off them. And again, a real dry area back here. And there's some, I hate to say it, some spectacular ferns here. Yeah. This is the Asian chain fern. Look at this thing.
Thing's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and it's still coming out with new fronds.
And it's dry.
And it's dry. We haven't had rain. I mean, I got some water going on every now and then, but it's just nothing that takes the place of rain.
Right.
And this is a woodwardia. And back here are the autumn ferns, which many people know. And look at them. They're standing upright. I mean, the water doesn't go back there. Yeah. So I think ferns are just a great group of plants. There's so many of them.
Yeah, and there's some established woody shrubs back there that look like they're suffering worse than the ferns.
There's some, there's some camellias back there and a poor old maple back there. But you know, it's just tough times. Look at those ferns. And
they're more resilient than you think they are.
Anybody who comes to this garden, they've got to have this thing.
Right.
And it's just not the easiest plant to find. This is Woodwardia unigemmata, if you can. Unigemmata. But any of the Woodwardias are terrific ferns. And again, you know, in having Jim and stuff here, it's I can't get enough coleus either. It's a pretty pedestrian plant, I suppose. There's 8 zillion of them.
More every year.
More every year. In fact, we can tell the whole coleus story someday, Jim, and how they first were introduced.
Oh, wow.
But this coleus has been in, there's only 3 plants, and they're much less right now in October than they were just even a month ago. But you come around the corner and see this, knocks your socks off. And look at this, it's fall. It still looks good.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. Coleus, go for it.
So you got some nice fall blooming things that are kind of coming into their own. The deer didn't leave you alone while you left. They don't take a break. They didn't go on vacation with you. Yeah.
We do have a lot of deer here, like everybody else. And, again, this critter thing, I mentioned squirrels to you, and I think deer are probably by far the most frustrating of anything we do in gardening.
Yeah, right.
And people are staying away from gardening because why buy these plants?
Right.
But the fact is, we do have deer, so I don't put a lot of real deer candy here. But and then I'll show you what I do to keep them away. We have a little creek over here, so they're here all the time.
Yeah.
The begonias here, you can see they got ravaged. But you say the fall flowering, there's some that's great celosia that just keeps from coming back from seed.
We have that one as well.
It's great. Maybe too much, but
that one can be.
It's easy to pull out.
Yeah.
The fall asters, of course, it's fall. I mean, I don't have a problem with, the Kmart or the Lowe's, chrysanthemums. They're fine.
Right.
But Steph, if you take a look at those mums down there, those are the real perennial mums, and they're all budded up right now. They don't look great because we haven't had rain, but they'll be spectacular.
They will be spectacular in a few weeks.
So,
I've said this for years.
Yeah,
There's plenty of perennial mums.
They come back every year. I love that.
Yeah.
So that's the perennial mum, the perennial aster,
right?
And these celosias, I guess, are annual, but they reseed.
They might as well be perennial.
So you just walk
They're definitely coming back.
Walk around a little bit, but we say, well, what do you do about deer other than building a fence? I understand the whole they can shoot them thing, but they go well in a neighborhood like this.
Right, yeah.
So I just use this product, and I don't make a penny. Another thing I don't make a penny off of. It's a product called Liquid Fence, but there's a lot of different deer products.
Yeah.
And I'm too lazy to mix. I'm too tired to backpack. I'm too old to think about this, so I spritz. Okay, and when I spritz, that's all I do, and I do it. This says 30 days. I do it every 3 days, and I don't even know when I do it. I leave it in the garden.
Yeah, you just.
So I know that they're, I was away for 10 days. Look at my poor begonias, but then I'm done, and I just leave it in the garden. And when I come out, I see it. I say, "Oop, it's time." So anyway, that's how I do it. But,
a lot of these perennial asters just sit here all summer, and they're not in the way. They're not doing. And then all of a sudden they just explode.
Yeah, this one here is just budding up now, so it's probably not going to be. It's going to be November.
Right. Yeah.
If you're living in Wisconsin and watching this, sorry, but that's what we're able to do here. But we also get hotter than you do. So.
Yeah. You have sedum, so there's just a ton.
Yeah, the fall stuff like the sedums, like the asters, like the wonderful ageratum.
Is this a perennial one for you?
This is a perennial ageratum. And it just, again, reseeds.
Yeah.
And so that's half the fun of gardening is see what that's going to come up. And there'll be all sorts of larkspur and stuff in here.
And the ageratums almost like come back to life when the nighttime temperatures get cool.
Yeah.
They'll be looking a little rough in the heat of the summer, and then all of a sudden they're showing off again.
It's looking a little rough right now. I need some water. I'll probably put some water on it. But the fact is, they're blooming without any they don't want anything. They're good guys.
Yeah.
And they make us look pretty good as well. Anyway, so there's a cool lot of stuff here, and much more to see.
There you go. You've always got this great little entry bed out here by the road. Something's always happening. Something's always going on out here. Tell us about this combo this year.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I just know that if you're going to come to my garden, you know where you're going. Just look for the plants.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But this is a cool bed. This is, of course, our mailbox bed. And there's some annuals and some bulbs and some actually woody stuff in here. This is a really cool plant. This is Gomphrena. Globe amaranth. It's been around forever. It's a tough plant.
Yeah, they are.
But this one is one of my favorites. It's called Truffula Pink, like the Dr. Seuss books.
Yeah.
And it just keeps flowering and flowering and flowering. And
we had it in a video.
It's great.
2 days ago.
It just
blooms and blooms. Well, it just never stops. Until it gets right until the freeze knocks it back.
Yeah, and there's full of ground cover that is kind of it's there. The creeping jenny, and of course. again, I mentioned already these crepe myrtles, which are dwarf. That's
Yeah.
as tall as they get. I'll
Right.
cut them back later on.
Which is about finished now.
Yep.
We're filming this at the beginning of October, but this
Yep.
would have been full bloom
Oh
2
yeah,
months
you
ago.
can see all the flowers that
Yeah.
were here.
Yeah.
And these ones, what I also like with crepe myrtles is there's no powdery mildew, which I'm really happy about.
Right, yeah, yeah.
But of course, it's fall, and what do we look forward to? We look forward to Lycoris. And you know, they come up. Come on over here, Steph, and take a look at these. They're gone. You don't even know they're there. You plant them in the fall
Yes.
or whenever you want to plant them. They come up with leaves, as you know, Jim. Then they disappear.
Yeah.
And they're sometimes called resurrection lilies because they just come from nowhere. But it's a plant called Lycoris, and there's different ones. Of course, this is the radiating one, or radiata, and it's the red one. It's got lots of cool names. And
It
one
does.
of the names that I learned was this is also called naked ladies. Now, far be it from me to name such a thing, but that's what it's called.
Right.
And so it's always fun when you have common names like this.
Yes.
Why is it called crepe myrtle? Why is it called naked ladies? Well,
Right.
you can let them know that we actually did something here. And we put a little book together, or I guess I did.
Yes.
It's called Of Naked Ladies. My wife wasn't real happy with this. Of Naked Ladies and Forget-Me-Nots, and how plants get their common names. You know, why is there a Joe Pye? Is there, you know, where do all these, why is a poppy the flower of remembrance? And anyway, so again, this is one of the books that Jim has been really, really good in telling you about. And we have a little thing, if you buy something with, you know, based on what Jim says, we have a little thing, I think it's
I don't remember, but it's
anyway.
down below the video.
Well,
You
he'll
can
have
use
it
the
on
code
there.
there, and it includes free shipping.
Yeah, you get free shipping.
Free shipping on any of
That's
Dr.
cool.
Dr.
Any of
Armitage's
Dr.
books.
A's books, and
Yes.
just have fun. But here, naked ladies.
Surprise
something
lilies.
To look for.
Hurricane lilies.
Hurricane lilies. Yeah.
Yes,
they're
a lot of
tough to
this one has so many common names, and we
get.
see.
Yeah, and I love them all. So
Yeah.
that's why gardening is so much fun. We always have something to look
To look
forward
forward to. Yeah, thank you. We wrapped it up right where you started there.
Yeah,
It was
that's right.
perfect. You've done this before. You've done this before. We love coming to Athens. We love coming to see Dr. Armitage. And I told him, I just want to hang out. We don't have to film anything.
right.
And here we are filming something.
Now we can go get a glass of wine, right?
There you go. There you go. Thank you guys for watching.